Hello, it's Romania Black, and welcome to our next installment of Januyaoi! So yes, I'm going to be looking at the yaoi anime of the year, I guess, of 2023. We're now in 2024, but I have had requests for Mignon for quite some time. And so as soon as people were like, you need to watch Mignon, I was like, okay, I will watch Mignon. Because y'all have requested it so much. It's only like an hour and 7 minutes. It's split up into 12 episodes, which is a little frustrating because it's going to take a lot of editing on my part because I would like to watch an episode, talk about it, and then watch it again. So for those of you on Patreon, you guys will get to see, like, and for those of you on YouTube in the link down below, you'll get to see like the full reaction all the way through with including the anime segments and my discussion all the way through in one segment. But for the YouTube video, it will obviously have to be segmented out because of copyright and all that fun stuff. So, But yeah, I know nothing about Mignon. I know that there's filet mignon. That's a cut of meat. There's that. A filet mignon is usually a high-class cut of meat. It's usually more expensive. It's very petite. The moderator for this channel, Be Happy, who's French, was saying, oh, mignon means cute in French. And I was like, oh, well, what a perfect name for a yaoi. Cute. Sure. So there's that. But other than that, I know nothing about Mignon. Just that it's been highly recommended, and the YouTube content creator Crispy Nats did some video about it, but I didn't watch it because I wanted to be surprised. So that's all I know. We'll find out though, right? So Anime Annie gets a special shout out in this video because I tried to find Mignon just on Bilibili or on a streaming site, and it just isn't there completely. And so Anime Annie was lucky enough to download the 12 episodes, have them ready for me, and gave them to me so I could review. So thank you, Anime Annie, for giving us this opportunity to review it for Januyaoi. I really appreciate it. All of my love. But with that being said, I am really excited to dive into this series and see what in the world we end up getting. I don't know, but it's in 12 episodes. I just downloaded them, so I have them. My dog, of course, wants me to play with him while I'm watching this, but we'll have to just hold that off. So, yeah, let's find out what's up with Mignon and just see what we get. So I hope you all enjoy this installment of Januyaoi, but let's go ahead and get started. We are going to start Mignon and see what we get. And we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. Ooh, Shelby had to go get some more juice. Oh, Januyaoi. Oh, mwah, mwah. You have come through. You have come through, Mignon. Oh my gosh. Ah! So let's talk about this, shall we? Oh man. This combines the best things about Januyaoi that I love, right? This combines so many good things. It combines amazing animation. The animation was gorgeous. The color, the sound, everything. It was absolutely beautiful. I loved it. I don't know if this is Korean or if it's Chinese. I don't know which it is. I know it's not Japanese. I want to say it's Korean because of the text, but if that's the case, I kept making comparisons to Link Click, even though Link Click is a Donghua and is Chinese, so it's probably a very different animation studio. It reminds me a little bit of Hyperventilation, which I think Hyperventilation is Korean, I think. I don't know. You all will probably tell me in the comments down below. Regardless, it had a very Link Click vibe in terms of the animation style, but it also reminded me of Hyperventilation a little bit. And then, of course, Mignon, until he becomes a vampire, looks kind of like Gojo. Like a buff himbo Gojo, which I'm not complaining about. Oh my god. But combining the best things I love about a BL. Beautiful animation. It had heart. It was horny with heart. It was horny with a heartbeat. It was porn with a plot. It was smut with satisfaction. It was spicy, it was bloody, it was just giving everything it could. And it was a vampire story, which I love a vampire story. Vampires are so synonymous with all these different things, and there are layers to the symbolism with what they represent, what it means to, like, when they bite someone, the act of sucking blood. Although Mignon is very literal, and whatever happens to me, he's like, I'm gonna put it in, and the doctor's like, wait a minute, whoa, what's happening? It's like, you know, here's the beef. And the doctor's like, I'm vegan. He's like, not today, you're not. So, I want to go by episode and just break them down real quick with y'all, because I was just like, I couldn't stop. Once we started, I was like, no, couldn't stop. I love everything about this animation. Anime Annie, I'm saving these videos. I'm not getting rid of them. Like, I'm going to go back and rewatch some of this over and over again, because it was just really good. Now, I mean, let's talk. Is it style over substance? That is the question. Is it a style over substance situation? Because there's so much style, there's so much visually on screen that's beautiful. There is a lot going on. For only being an hour long, an hour and 7 minutes, it's barely into that. It's only like 67 minutes long, the whole thing is. It's like, what do we do with this as far as the story goes? Which I'm assuming this is like a webcomic or a one-shot manga or manhwa. So is it style over substance? Because you can make the argument, I'm sure if somebody was going to get real technical, they'd be like, well, we didn't really get to know the doctor's character, and Mignon was definitely like just a himbo, like such a boob. And it's like, well, yeah, it is. And, you know, once Mignon becomes a vampire, he's just like, screw it, let's just go to town. And I'm like, I mean, you're undead. What else are you going to do, right? There ain't nothing in the fridge except some packets of blood. So I think that, you know, sure, if you want to get technical with it, why not? But I needed this in my life. I needed to start my year out with this, to be sure. I do like a lot of the little details, though, in this opening episode. Like, we see the coach, who is a piece of shit. We see him, like, sleeping on the couch, and we see the doctor coming in. We see the blood splatter on the different table there, alongside all the cigarettes in the cup, which is really creepy. There's just like a lot of elements with this opening, like going from the blue lighting to the red, like entering into the underworld of this boxing ring. And what's funny about it is that the so-called doctor, I like kind of the repetition, like you go back and see the same guy on the floor collapsing on the dance floor again, like I like that it represents like every day is the same for the doctor. It's just that, you know, and I like that we have Master Wu who says, welcome back, young doctor. Now, again, the one element I wish we would have gotten a little teensy bit more on is Master Wu, because it's like, was he a vampire? We're assuming that he was, but why wasn't his hair black unless it's all a fake beard and mustache and it's not real and it's just a disguise? We don't ever get to see his eyes. We see them open once. We don't ever get to see them, what color they are. So we don't know if they're red or not. So that was the one mystery. I kept waiting for Master Wu to get more information about him, but we don't. Which is fine in the end. I'm glad that he ends up being like the matchmaker and the wingman for the doctor, because for a second I thought he was going to be the one to like try to get rid of Mignon, being like, he's in the way and you're not taking care of him, so I'll take care of him. But in the end, he kind of does that whole thing where he's like, yeah, this is just a fleeting moment. You can let him go. But then he kind of realizes that maybe the doctor does like Mignon, and he's like, hell, screw it. You know what? If you're not going to be able to get rid of him and you don't want him to die, then just make him a vampire. Go on, go get your man. It's like, and I don't think the doctor would have made Mignon a vampire unless he was about to die. I think he was literally going to just like support Mignon and let him be. But then he was literally about to die from the blood loss and from the hit to the head, and he was like, shit, I gotta make him a vampire now. Got no choice. But I do like that the doctor, we don't ever find out his name. He's just the doc. He's just the doctor. And it's the concept of, he's not really a doctor. He just looks the part, right? And that kind of applies to Mignon as well. Mignon, you know, he's a boxer, but he doesn't really quite fit. You have two characters. You have the Doctor and Mignon, who don't quite fit the roles that they're playing, right? They're not quite perfect matches. They're just doing it to get by and survive, right? Because the doctor realizes this is my chance to get blood, and this is the best deal and the way to do it. And it's kind of like he has kind of a gravy train in a way. And Mignon's like, the only way that I can really be next to the doctor and support myself is by being this fighter. But which sucks for him, because that guy, I love the moth flying over the lights. Like, that was a cool touch to come back on. And then just the way this world is set up, like the way that the ticket booth is set up, and the way you see the hand come out, like tap for the tickets, and the way that you just get little glimpses of it all. It's really well done. And my dog wants me to play with him, but that's not happening. So, and I just love the idea of going into the surgical room, and then there's Mignon. God, what a difference it makes from Mignon being the white-haired, blue-eyed, like bushy, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed young man to the moment that hair goes black, he loses his innocence. And it's like, oh shit, no. Because it's just like, there is a sadness to it, because the doctor's been dead the whole time. He's been a vampire the whole time, right? So the doctor didn't really have any innocence to start with. He's just been trying to hold back his feelings about Mignon and trying to pretend that everything's okay. And then you have Mignon, who starts out with this like full of life, but then you realize that that life was for the doctor, right? So then you realize that Mignon was really just living for the doctor. Like, the doctor gave him that life, that energy that he needed to keep going, right? And the thing that sucks is that, you know, on the surface, the one thing you see is, okay, well, the doctor was the first guy that gave Mignon the time of day. So is it fair that Mignon, you know, fell in love with his first crush and the first kind person in his life? Is that realistic or whatever? I'm like, no, this is a fantasy story. Let me have my fantasy. Let me have my love at first sight. They became vampires and lived together fantasy. All right? Let me have this. But man, just that contrast of Mignon looking so like bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and then when he becomes a vampire, it's like, yeah, it's bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, but in a very different formula, right? And then I just like the doctor kind of like, it's what's interesting is that when you go back and rewatch it, you can kind of see the doctor has been kind of about him the whole time, but he's been trying to hide it by passing off as being, you know, really cold and distant. And Mignon just keeps like getting into his space and trying to be. What I do love about Mignon and the doctor is that Mignon never forces himself, not really forces himself onto the doctor. Like, he never tries. He kisses him the one time because after he finds out he's a vampire, but he tries to be like, you know, if you just want me to be here, we don't have to be in a relationship. I just want to be by your side, and I just want to be friends with you and share this space. So if nothing else comes of it, that's okay. And I find that a little bit refreshing, because in a lot of romances, it's kind of like the main character decides, if I can't be with you and we go all the way, then it's never going to work out, and I need to just distance and not be in your life at all, because it'd be torture. Like, usually that's the way it goes. But with Mignon, he was willing to just be there with the doctor. He's like, if this doesn't amount to anything, I just want to be in your life. And is that okay? And of course the doctor's like, he likes Mignon. He's like, son of a bitch, this is not gonna work. I really liked the doctor's character. Once we found out he was a vamp, because at first when he was just like kind of cold and distant, I was like, well, what's gonna be the catch? What's the trick? And then we find out that the doctor, I thought when he came back in episode 1 and the door was locked, I thought the doctor was like jerking off to Mignon. He just didn't want Mignon to know that he liked him. Surprise, he does like Mignon, but he's also a freaking vampire, and that's the joke, and that's the catch. It's like, oh, okay. It's great. It's such a great reveal. What's not such a great reveal is the fact that the coach is such a shit human being. I hate it. I hate how awful he is to Mignon. And it took me a second to realize that the auto shop that they were working on was owned by the coach. So they were doing the auto shop during the day, and then at night he'd go and do the matches. The one thing I am kind of sad about is it seemed like Mignon genuinely liked being the auto repair guy. So it's kind of one of those sad situations where it's like, oh, he doesn't get to do that anymore, but he doesn't have to live with that coach anymore. Although they implied the coach was dead, and I was like, well, you did kind of, I mean, it was the coach's fault entirely that this happened, because he made the deal, right? I just hate how he abuses poor Mignon. And for Mignon, he's like, would the doctor drink? I wonder if he would drink my blood too. Meanwhile, we go back to the doctor who's like, son of a bitch. And I do like that the doctor is portrayed like Master Wu kind of says, he's like, you've been alone all this time. You don't have anybody. He's like, maybe you need somebody in your life. And now you've converted this guy into a vampire, so you really don't have a choice anymore. And it's like, what I like is that it's been kind of consensual from the start. Like, all of this is pretty much consensual. Like, Mignon was ready to go with the doctor, but he was being nice, taking his time, letting the doctor warm up to him, even though he's a vampire. And finally, the doctor's like, fine, screw it, whatever, we can do this. And at that point, once he says yes, then Mignon's like, okay. What's so interesting is that, again, I'm watching Heaven Official's Blessing. It's kind of like if Hua Chong was like a himbo puppy dog. It's kind of like, what if Hua Chong and Chon Yijin mixed together? What if they got together and made one human being? And that's Mignon, right? Because he has such a devotion to the doctor, which I'm like, I mean, he's handsome enough, I guess. But he has such a devotion to the doctor who was so kind to him and basically like became his savior, sort of like Heaven Official's Blessing. And so he's so devoted to the doctor to the point where he would literally be okay dying for him. And it's like, And so then, yeah, I like that Master Wu's like, body like a mountain, silver-haired, wide-eyed. Yeah, it's him. I'll make an exception, but it'll cost you 100 units of blood. But I think the moment I believe that it's bargaining for a life, you have 1 week to expel Mignon and pay with blood. Oh, also now we see when it came back to that phone at the end of it, at the beginning, you see Master Wu on the phone with the doctor, and you see all of the weapons and tools that are attached to the bottom of the desk, like he could use in case if he needed them to hurt someone. And then at the end, when Master Wu goes to face the 7 guys that have come to hurt the doctor, you go back to that phone and see the phone sitting there, and all the weapons are gone. And it's like, okay, that was the visual clue that he took the weapons to go take care of the 7 individuals. I like going back through this and seeing all of the little visual clues. That's really fun. It's good. Good time. But yeah, so then we see Mignon, and he's just such a sweetheart. He just is thinking about the doctor. He's like, I thought you went away. I do love how they portray the doctor, though. Up until the 2 of them are together at the end, the doctor's very cold, and he kind of like just fidgets and moves around. Him being a vampire is like such a great twist. I love it. I absolutely love it. And I love that it's not like I've seen other series where it's just like blood everywhere and they're just like constantly like gnawing and bleeding all over each other. And it's like, that's kind of vorish and gross. There's no real vor in this, which is fine. It's literally just the idea of, he's a vampire and he doesn't want to, him not biting Mignon makes sense now because if he bit him, he would turn into a vampire. And that's kind of the whole deal. He doesn't want to bite him. That's why he's drinking the blood out of the pack, right? I'm curious why he didn't want to bite Mignon and make him a vampire if he loved him before. But I think that speaks volumes to the doctor because the doctor saw him being this, this youth full of life and happiness and energy. And he's like, I don't want to take that away from you. If I make you a vampire, then you won't be able to go out in the day anymore. Your life will drastically change. I don't want to do that to you. So I would rather you go away and live your life and let me have this kind of like sheltered existence. And it almost seemed like the doctor, no one had ever loved the doctor since he became a vampire and he'd never let anybody in. And then Mignon was the one that kind of wormed his way into his heart, which is great. And then, of course, Mignon being like, let me in. It's like, yes. So, yeah. And so, of course, Mignon, I love that scene where he's jump roping and getting ready for the fight. And he decides to like do it. He's going to do it for the doctor. And he's like, I'm going to win for the doctor. And he's like doing so good. It's great. And like seeing him like win the match. Oh, it's amazing. I love it so much. Meanwhile, it's like business is good. The doctor's getting all the blood that he needs. It's great. Mignon's getting stronger. I guess the doctor's also really pale because he doesn't go outside anymore, so he doesn't get any sunlight, any vitamin D. So I'm guessing eventually Mignon will just be this chiseled body that is paler. If he stays tan, that'd be great, but maybe it'll fade over time. I don't know. But he kind of comes to the conclusion that he likes Mignon. And then he like doesn't want to get near Mignon, and then Mignon bites his lip to make out with him. I mean, honestly, what's a nice subversion from normal vampire stories is that Mignon puts the moves on the doctor. Because normally in a vampire narrative, the vampire is the one to seduce the human. And that's kind of then it's the human's conflict of, I'm in love with a vampire. Whoa, what was me? What do I do? They're undead. I'm not. How do I live in their world? Whatever. Mignon's such a golden retriever sunshine boy that he doesn't even think about that. He's like, I just know that I love this man and I want to be with him and I'll make the move. I have no problem with that. I love how in character that is, because then at the end, when Mignon really has his way with the doctor and the doctor's like, okay, when that happens, it's in character. It doesn't feel out of character for Mignon because he's kind of been forward this entire time. Mignon's been the one in control of the relationship from the start. The doctor's just been the one kind of like sidestepping around, being like, I don't want you here, go away. But he's the one in the end. Mignon has control. And I think that's interesting because from the story standpoint, the doctor should be the one in the position of power. But anytime you see like Mignon is the dominant one in the relationship, which is kind of refreshing for a human vampire love story, right? I love it. And then I love that you know, the doctor's the one getting all flustered and like, whenever he has the growly, angry face, it reminded me a lot of Link Click, which is why I thought of that series. I was like, no. He's like, how dare, damn it. And then I love that just as he's getting mad, Mignon's like, I just want you to talk to me and pat my head. What a baby. Oh my God. Just, went from a little lamb to guts from Berserk in 5 seconds. And I like that Master Wuyon is like, Master Wu, he's kind of like, look, you need to let it go, because unless you're going to turn him into a vampire, it's going to go over in a blink of an eye and you won't need him anymore. So just let him go. Right. But then I love that we see twice. We see first the doctor go by the ring and sees Mignon battling for him and kind of gets, you know, like, oh. And then later at the end, we see Mignon pass the ring, see someone fighting, is like, like that was my life. And I don't know. I debated in the reaction whether Mignon would end up continuing on as a fighter or not, but I think he will. I think he could still end up being a fighter. I just think he has to be careful not to let the blood get to him. And I think that would make the most sense, because why would you need 2 doctors in the back, right? You got 1, why would you need 2? That might seem suspicious. He'll just be under a different fighting name. Maybe he'll be like Sirloin or something, or Ribeye. Oh, Ribeye coming in. He definitely got that T-bone. He'll just be T-bone. Yeah, he went from Mignon to T-bone real quick. Just ask the doctor, right? But I like the doctor kind of gets, you know, shows that it's a mutual attraction. That's what I like, because as much as the doctor tries to play it off that he doesn't like Mignon, he very much does. And you get those subtle little reminders, the fact that he's keeping him around and everything. But then, yeah, he's like, I'll win for you. And then when the doctor says, just keep winning, and he's like, sure, I will. But dude takes it literally. And I love that he imagines like quitting fighting and getting a salary job, and he has the suit, and he's like, I'll make lots of dough for the doctor and I. And then, but that's not what the doctor wants. The doctor just wants him to win. So then we have the stupid guys there that are trying to make the bet, which was, I thought they were going to, which they did, they were going to try to kill him in that moment. And I'm glad they did not, because I was like, oh my God, why? But they try to rig the match. But Mignon, he can't lose for the doctor because that's who he loves. And when he sees the doctor watching the match, he can't let it go. The way they drew both of them, oh my God, the way they drew each of them, they both looked amazing. Like the animation style, the anatomy, all of it. I was like, I was like, Romania is approving of all of this quality. Quite so. Quite so. It was really, really well done. And all of the sequences of the fights with like the lights and everything, it looked like a movie. It was very cinematic. And then I just love how big Mignon is. He's just this big hulking guy. And the thing about it is, until he gets confident, until he becomes a vampire and like gets his confidence in the bedroom, until that happens, he just kind of follows behind the doctor and seems like a little puppy dog. He's like kind of slouched and everything. And then once he like is like, oh, I'm undead now, I'm a vampire, we can be together forever, then it's like, oh. Then he just kind of like matures real fast. I said it's like Interview with the Vampire if Lestat made Louis a vampire and Louis was totally on board with it. It was like, okay, that's pretty much what this is. That's pretty much the story. I think when they pass by Master Wu and he sees Mignon following the doctor like a puppy, I think at that point the master kind of understands that no, they like each other and maybe it is better for the doctor if they end up together, right? I love the doctor keeps telling him to go home. And then, he's just such a sweetheart. But then, nope, we can't have nice things. That's when they show up to try to hurt him. And, God, the coach is just awful. Like, I'm glad that at the end of it all, I'm glad that Mignon stood up for himself and he defended himself, which I'm glad. Which, for poor Mignon, he was taken off the street by this, like, piece of shit and, like, raised in this, like, auto body shop that's, like, a pigsty. And it's so dirty and messy and nasty. And then you get to the doctor's house and it's very clean and, like, well organized and fancy and nice. Which I'm assuming he's just making money somehow, or Master Wu's supplying him with some kind of money to be able to live this lifestyle. I guess he doesn't have to buy food, so he doesn't have to worry about that. But when you see the kind of world that Mignon lives in and how shitty his life is, even though he's this handsome guy that could probably be really, really well off, it makes sense now why he's like, oh, I'm fine being a vampire. After going through all of this, I'm fine being one of the undead. No worries here, right? And then, I hate it. And so then we cut back, yes, to the bloody counter with the cigarettes. And I guess that's at the shop. Oh my gosh. And then we see, or maybe that's, yeah, I guess it's at the shop or at outside of the place where the fights go down. I like that they beat up the doctor, and then as soon as they leave, he just gets up and like gets his stuff and goes back like it's no big deal. Like he's got the cuts and stuff over him, but he's clearly not hurt. He's just like, I'm a vampire. Thanks for hurting me, I guess. And Master Wu's like, look, you're gonna get hurt, so you don't let him complicate you. Either make him a vampire or let him go. Like, figure this out, right? Also, poor Mignon. He's like sleeping on the floor. Sleeping on the floor in the shop. Like, poor guy. He has nothing there to himself. It's just like this shitty place to live. Like, I feel for Mignon. And he's all by himself, too. Like, these two people that are alone that find each other. Ugh. And then, of course, the coach left him. But the coach left him. And those guys, like, came in to get him. And, oh, that wrench. That damn, throwing a wrench into the situation. Just hitting him over the head. Oh, I hate it. Mm-mm. And then, yeah, when the moment he went back to the doctor was concerned. I was like, okay, he does care about him. It was just all, because he lies to him to make him leave. And then he's like, I should have killed you so that you wouldn't have to suffer. Because he didn't want Mignon to suffer. He wanted Mignon to leave the ring and go live a happy life and not have to be hurt anymore, right? And then once he leaves, the doctor realizes what he did, and that's when he goes back after him. But not before Master Wu saves him. I'm like, hell yeah. And he's like, fasten them. I love these, like, did you fix the infirmary door? And he's like, fasten them on the door when you go. Go find your kid. I love it. I love it. He's like, go get your man, right? And then he empties all the stuff from under the desk. Oh, love it. And just the scene of, like, it being red at night and, like, the blood and everything and seeing that he can't find him in the rain. Oh, because he looked all over for him. And then, of course, what ends up happening is that he goes back, looks over, and under the stairway, under the stage, he finds him. Yeah, and he's, like, passed out. I love just the way that he holds his head up. He, like, holds it up so gently for him. So good. It's so good. And then he's like, I lied to you. I didn't want to see you in pain, and I left you behind. And he wanted Mignon. I love the little tiny pats, though, that he gives him. Like, the pats he gives Mignon on the shoulder, they're like a little heartbeat. He's like, doot, 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 doot. And you don't realize it until you go back and, like, kind of make it go a little bit faster. But, yeah, it was like a little heartbeat. I'm like, damn it. Damn it, Mignon. And then, yeah, he tries to keep Mignon awake. I'm like, they go past a hospital. It was right there. Could have taken him to the hospital, but I think he was afraid that he wouldn't make it. Or he's a vampire, and that concept of taking him to the hospital just didn't even fly by him. But yeah, when he trips over and realizes that he's pretty much dead, and then Mignon, like, has the lights and he's about to go out, but he sees the doctor. And I just love the concept. I love the entire phase where he's turned into a vampire. Like, they show the ring, the chairs are empty, it's just the doctor. And then that shows him, like, biting his neck, and there's the blood, and then it shows, like, him as a child. I love it. Like, you see him as a kid, his ears, like, everything, like, all the blood leaves his body, which is insane. Like, instead, I like the idea of transforming into a vampire. All the blood leaves you and gets in the tub, right? Like, it all comes out your eyes, everything. And, like, the doctor's like, come on, you want to do this? The way that they describe it is, and even just, like, the central part of the doctor, like, licking that stripe up his abdomen as he's transforming into a vampire, like, the blood and everything. And then, yeah, and he has the option, like, you either die or you come with me and become a vampire. And he chooses to go with the doctor and, like, breaks out of the boxing gloves and, like, comes out of the tub and grabs for him. I love it. Like, that, what a transformation. I love that. It's so good. It's so damn good. Episode 10 is really good. I love the visuals of the transformation into a vampire. It's so, so good. And then he's like, don't let the sunlight touch you. And then, he's like, yeah, don't let that sunlight touch you, not even a little bit. I'm like, you need to get some better blackout curtains then, because I don't know how much they're doing it. And then I like the concept of you have to consume, like, the blood that you shed, like, consuming, it's like baby formula, like, consume, it's like colostrum, consume, like, all the blood that you've got there and, like, lick it out of the tub. And that should last you a while. And I like that Mignon doesn't really question what's happened. He's like, soon you won't have to use the bathroom anymore because of, you know, everything goes on. You won't need human food anymore. Yeah. And you'll sleep here. I like that after everything they went through, again, subverting our expectations, because normally the vampire is the seducer, right? Which Mignon very much fits that role. But I like that you would expect, you know, like in a vampire story, once the vampire makes the other one, their lover, a vampire as well, then they'll consummate the relationship. I like the doctor was like, nope, you sleep here, I'm gonna sleep over here, thanks, I saved your life, bye. I saved your life by making you undead, it's all good. And Mignon's like, no, we just went all through all this, so absolutely not. And the doctor's like, I don't know what to do in this situation. And then I like that Mignon just he's like a pouty baby vampire. He's like, fine, I won't talk to you anymore. It's super cute. And then I like that Master Wu is called. He's like, I'm not coming into work tomorrow. I just made a guy a vampire. And Master Wu's like, I expected as much. Master Wu's like, oh, youth, you young whippersnapper, just getting it on. Isn't it great? And then I like that Mignon's like, fine, I'll let you in. And he's like, fine, we can go in and do this. And then I do appreciate, again, we have this moment of communication between the doctor and Mignon where he says, it's been a while since I've been near anybody. I thought that becoming a vampire, I didn't want anybody close to me anymore, and that I was just gonna be alone the rest of my life. So he's like, I do care about you. I just don't know what to do. And I like that Mignon's like, oh, okay. And he's like, okay, well, he's like, I'm sorry I threw a tantrum. And then they get to be together. And it's like, he's like, I'll do my best to make you feel at ease, which tracks with Mignon's character. And the doctor's like, okay, sure. And what I like about it is that, again, something that's so great about BL and yaoi in general is that normally in a relationship, I feel like if this were a relationship between a male and female character, for example, and the doctor was the male character that was the vampire, and then she became, like if Mignon was a woman and she became a vampire, I don't know any vampire story where I've seen a female character in the position Mignon is in, getting transformed into a vampire, that suddenly takes the lead. And I guess you could argue in Twilight, Bella kind of does, but not like this, where Mignon's like, I'll take care of you now that I'm a vampire. You don't have to be alone. And it's just that idea of these two that are same gender in this relationship. And it doesn't have to be same gender. It's just the fact these two in a relationship, the doctor's always been the person who had the immortal power that was kind of in this position of control, but they've acknowledged, they're like, I really don't have any control. It's just all fake. And Mignon is like, well, then fine. If you don't feel in control of the situation, let me help and I'll guide you. And it's like, okay. And then the fact that he's like, will you let me in? And that line, will you let me in? Oh, it's not only, it works on so many levels, because it's like, will you let me in? Will you let me into your heart? Will you let me into your life? Will you let my dick into your butt? But it's not only that, but in terms of vampires, the line is, will you let me in? A lot of vampire lore, like I'm thinking of the Sookie Stackhouse novels. In those, vampires can't come into your house unless you willingly let them in. So the line, will you let me in, is kind of like, will you let me into your home? It covers a matter of metaphor. It's amazing. I freaking love it. I'm like, yes, please. And then you think that's the end, but then it's the last one. And man, 8 minutes, they let you, they let us have it. That was probably the most like explicit, sensual scene I've seen all year. And that counts 2023. Get ready for 2024. What a way to start 2024. But Mignon, let me tell you, I don't know. I really liked white-haired, blue-eyed Mignon, and then the moment his hair turned black, I was like, oh, I don't know if I like him as much. And then this scene happened, and I was like, oh, I think he's doing just fine, actually. I think we're great. I think we're doing just fine. Oh my God. Vampire-y stories, let me tell you. It's just so good. And then they make love and everything, and the doctor's like, what have I signed up for? I love it. I'm like, dude, you now have an immortal boxing man, 207 pound, 6'2" Hulk that is like over you. And I love that when he's like, oh, this is my first time. And I'm like, you're doing pretty damn well for your first time. Oh my God. Where is the beef? Indeed. The doctor is vegan. No more. Nope. Not anymore. That's for sure. He was like letting him have it there at the end. I was like, oh my God, that feels like it would hurt. But the two of them, oh my God, yes. I love it. And then I love at the very end, they both have the coats. It's like their sign that they're a vampire together. And he's got like the little hat on and everything. And they're like, oh, what I like about it is he's worried. He's like, well, won't they recognize me at the ring? And the doctor's like, all they cared about was the fight. They didn't really care about you as a person. And it's like, yeah. But then, and Master Wu's like, well, I hope y'all had fun. I think Master Wu is glad that the doctor's not alone anymore, you know. And then I love that idea where we see the matches going on and he stops and looks over and sees the match still getting played. And then he keeps moving on. Oh, it's great. And then at the end there, yeah, I like that poor doctor. Poor doctor. Now Mignon just wants to be with you all the time because he's like a big dog, right? And the doctor's like, son of a bitch. I can't do anything without him all over me. Oh, I love it. Poor him. I'm like, I don't know if I'd complain. Just the two of them, huh? Oh, y'all. Oh, my God. This was a fantastic entry to Januyaoi. Wonderful. maybe not the level of depth to it that we've seen with Fake and Winter Cicada. Maybe not the length of Foreign Affair, as in terms of like the depth of the character and the story. But for a one shot, I think that was pretty darn good. I was all right with that. It's clearly not the best BL I've ever seen because you don't get insanely invested in the characters, but it's really good. It's so sad. It's like hyperventilation where you could watch so much more. Like, I would watch a whole series just about Master Wu and about the doctor getting that position. Like, I'd watch a whole series about the doctor and his life before he became a vampire. And then I'd watch a whole series of their adventures screwing each other and working in the underground ring from here on out. Like, it's so nice because they both came from being kind of in this alone situation in not a very good environment, but they come out of it at the end being able to be with each other. That was the thing. I was afraid going into this that it was going to be one of those things. The moment we found out he was a vampire, I was like, well, either Mignon's going to have to become a vampire for them to be together, or Mignon's going to end up dying, or the vampire's going to end up dying, and it's going to be this like angsty, sad ending. And it ends up not being an angsty, sad ending. They end up getting to be together, and they love each other. So, love wins. Isn't that great? What a great entry for 2024 for Januyaoi. So, I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna go back and rewatch this. So, I hope you all enjoyed Mignon. I can't wait to hear your thoughts down below. Oh! But in the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and we'll be back real soon to talk about the next entry for Januyaoi.